Alright guys, it's not looking good. There's currently a lot of doom posting about Varka and everyone is saying he's cooked, but is it actually true? Well, his damage as of right now is, let's just say, not very high. However, believe it or not, there is some hope left. And even if they end up not buffing him and choose to release him in his current state, there are some things you can do to still get the most out of him. So let's just get right into it and let me explain what exactly is going on and if it's actually that bad. Alright, so before we talk about Varka, if you want to pull for the white horse or you haven't pulled for Columbina yet, let me introduce you to lootbar.gg. On Lootbar, you can save over 25% when buying Genesis crystals. On top of that, new users also get a 10% off, which is much cheaper than buying them in-game. I've personally used Lootbar a lot of times because it saved me a lot of money. They have countless positive reviews and are even partnered with other CCs like Genshin Impact and I Win to Lose, so it's 100% safe to use. If you want to top up, all you have to do is just click on whatever you want, enter your UID and server, and there you go, the Genesis crystals will arrive on your account just like that. They also have a lot of different payment methods and they even refund you if something goes wrong, so if you want to top up and save some money at the same time, make sure to check out lootbar.gg. But now let's get back to the video. First things first, we gotta talk about his damage. As most of you probably already know, as of right now, his damage multipliers are pretty bad. To give you guys a comparison, his highest DPS in his best teams is around like 80 to 90k depending on how you play him. And for the white horse, for example, her DPS, her highest DPS in her best teams is around like 130 to 150k. Now, I'm not an expert at theory crafting, but I think it's pretty clear how big the difference is in terms of damage. And a lot of people are kind of coping, saying that, you know, it's the first phase of the beta and these multipliers will be changed later on, but I wouldn't be so sure about that. Usually, the only things that really get like massively changed throughout the beta when it comes to their kit are things like their passives and constellations. Their multipliers get changed too, but the changes are very small, so even if they were to slightly buff his multipliers, he would still be pretty bad. So either this is some huge mistake and they're gonna fix it, which is very unlikely, or it's actually intentional for some reason and they're gonna release him with those exact damage numbers, which doesn't necessarily mean he will be terrible, but there's a specific theory for that, which I'll talk about in a second as well. There's also the small chance that they did it on purpose and they had to give him these multipliers temporarily so they could increase them later on, but that would be kind of pointless. So overall, as you guys can see, it's really hard to tell why his multipliers are that low. Now, there is one way we can explain this, and if that theory is true, then his actual damage would probably be one of the highest in the game. Hear me out, guys. Since he's using 2 claymores during combat, and he always attacks with both of those weapons, maybe these damage multipliers count for both claymores separately. And if that's the case, assuming both of his weapons deal the exact same amount of damage, he would deal twice as much damage. But then his DPS would be around like 160 to 170k, which seems kind of too high for me. I think the only way we can confirm this theory is if they nerf his multipliers, because in that case, it would actually make sense, because his actual DPS in that case would be more around 140k or something like that if they nerf him. Otherwise, I don't know how likely this is to be true, I'll be completely honest. That aside though, the other explanation for this is that they're planning to make Nicole his best in slot support. Maybe she will eventually show up to buff Varka. Maybe Nicole can save him, but they will have to pull off some crazy type of stunt to make this work. Like, her kit is gonna have to be beyond overpowered for her to save Varka. I don't know what kind of buffs they're gonna put into her kit, but they will have to get pretty creative if they want Nicole to actually save him. The thing is though, at least even if she can bring up his DPS to like 110 or 120k or something, it would already make a huge difference compared to his current state. You know, he doesn't have to be the best DPS in the entire game. He doesn't have to power creep everyone. All we want is for him to at least be somewhat good. One thing we can say for sure is that Nicole will be a support for him and they will work well together. The only question is it going to be enough to make Varka actually strong. But all this DPS stuff aside, I've heard a lot of people make the argument that he will be bad because he's male, but that argument doesn't really make sense, because if that's the case, then why do we have characters like Neuvillette and Kazuha who used to be some of the best characters in the entire game? Even characters like Flint and Kinich are pretty good. So why would they make all these male characters strong, but then for some reason they decide to make Varka this bad? I just don't get it. I feel like there must be a reason for that. But then again, we've had this exact same situation a couple of times before with Yoimiya and Dia, so maybe it's just another Dia situation and they will actually release him in that state without giving him any buffs or anything like that. The only reason why I'm skeptical of this is because he's one of the most anticipated characters in the entire game. Like, bro, they've been teasing him for such a long time. They know everyone wants to pull for him. From a business perspective, it wouldn't make any sense to make him that bad, unless they're planning to put him into the standard banner. But I don't think that's gonna happen because we've already got Mizuki as the new Anemo standard, and it would be pretty weird if we got 2 Anemo standard characters in a row. I just think that would be pretty weird, and especially for someone like Varka to go into the standard banner, I just don't see it, man. But yeah, this is the only way I could possibly explain this. I don't see any other reason why they would decide to make him this bad. Again, there's still a good chance he will be way better on release, but as of right now, his damage is... yeah, I don't think I need to explain this.
I mean...
Anyway, assuming the worst case scenario happens and they don't buff him at all, what should you do as a dedicated Varka enjoyer? Now, this is for the people who really like him, alright? Because his damage might not be high, but from what it looks like, I think he has some really cool animations since, you know, they can change colors depending on the elements, and his gameplay itself seems pretty fun to me as well, especially if you're someone like me who enjoys using normal attacks. But if they don't buff him at all, what can you do to still get the most out of him and make him as strong as possible? Well, I'm just gonna be completely honest here. The first thing you need to do is not build any pity on any of the current banners if you're F2P. Don't pull for any of the current characters unless, you know, maybe Columbina, but make sure to skip phase 2, make sure to do all the content there is, farm those primo gems, and then go all in on Varka to invest vertically into him as much as you can. Then, once his banner is actually out and version 6.4 starts, the version 6.5 beta will start at the same time, and if Nicole ends up buffing him, make sure to obviously keep some pulls for her as well. If she ends up not buffing him, then obviously you can go ahead and spend everything you have on Varka. I think that's, you know, the best way you can go for it if you really like Varka. But the thing is, guys, if you've been waiting for Varka for a long time and you like him as much as I like Capitano, for example, and you want him to be strong, just go all in on him and try to get his constellations too. His constellations also make his gameplay more fun since you can use his skill more. So, you know, just go all in on him and see how lucky you can get. Now, I wouldn't recommend this if you're a new player, alright? But if you've been playing for years and you already have all the necessary supports, you can already clear endgame content, I think it's completely fine to do that, bro. Even if you want to spend money, alright? I'll be honest, if you have the money and you can afford it, you can also just top up some Genesis crystals for him. It's not the end of the world. Of course, you know, it depends on your country and how much you can afford, but if you can comfortably afford it, as long as you're aware what you're doing and you're aware of the consequences, who cares, bro? But anyway, overall, I just really hope they fix him, man. I've been so excited for this dude. He's honestly one of my favorite characters now. I just really hope they buff this guy. It wouldn't make any sense if they don't buff him, but in the end, it's still Hoyoverse, so you never know, right? With that being said, let me know what you guys think about Varka down below in the comments. Make sure to join my Discord, and as always, I wish everyone a nice and wonderful day.